Hey everybody, I'm Matthew Cook and this is episode 101 of the Tactical Dad podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about handgun ammunition, handgun cartridges, pistol ammo. I guess it's highly debated. I didn't know this until I got more into it, but apparently it's highly debated. It's not an argument really. There's the differences, but the 9mm, the 40 S&W, and the 45 ACP. So 3 extremely popular handgun cartridges. And obviously you got different people that love different ones. Now I'm coming into this from the perspective of being relatively new to the whole space, coming from no military background, no service background, nothing like that. Just a guy who's a husband, a father, who is trying to learn to shoot, be a competitive shooter, and protect his family and his castle and his loved ones. So I have my perspective on it, and after looking through like what each one is and testing them out, because I've had the chance to actually shoot them at the range and with my instructor, which is pretty cool. I now not only understand some of the like actual specifications of these types of ammo or this type of ammunition, but I've felt it as well. So like I have a pretty good understanding. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but I have a pretty good understanding about these 3 and can give my sort of feeling and opinion on it for all those new gun owners, all those new shooters that are considering what ammo they need and what will be the right ammo. So here we go. The 9mm, the 45 ACP, and the 40 S&W. Like, I think we'll just start with a brief overview of what they are. So they're all pistol cartridges. They're all cartridges for handguns. And I mean, this will make sense. 45 ACP is like packs way more of a punch, more recoil, way more stopping power, bigger bullet, heavier bullet. The 40 S&W is a little less, and the 9mm is a little less. But it's the advancements in ammunition over the last decade has made the most popular ammunition, which is the 9mm. Like the 9mm is the most common purchased type of ammunition, like across the board. When you line up all guns and all ammo, what is purchased the most of, it's 9mm, and obviously so it makes sense that it is made in the biggest. It's made in mass quantities. It's like all of the companies that make 9mm ammo make it in huge quantities. So that also, as a result of that as well, it makes it like the cheapest because of economies of scale, right? It allows them to sell it for cheaper. So they make less margin, but it's still because of the volume. You'll take the volume all day over selling less units with more margin. So it's most widely available because of that. It's the cheapest. Like I bought 1,000 rounds for, I think it was between 22 and 27 cents. So pretty inexpensive. Most widely available, like everywhere. And it's got like, the recoil's not too bad. Like at first, when I first ever shot a 9mm, there was some recoil and it was like, whoa, that's powerful. But now, being way more familiar, the recoil is very little, especially in comparison to a 40 and a 45 ACP. Less recoil, so it's easier to shoot like after. The capacity is more, like, you know, a 9mm, it's got more capacity. So they're like the benefits of the 9mm. I made some notes as well to go through, like when you really highlight some of the differences, like let's go the 40 S&W and the 9mm. like the differences between them, because the 45 ACP is like quite a bit different. Even though it's a handgun cartridge, it's quite a lot different. So the differences between a 40 S&W and a 9mm is the bullet diameter. So the 40 S&W has a larger bullet diameter of 0.40 inches, while the 9mm is 0.355 inches. What I mentioned a few minutes ago, the recoil, the 40 S&W produces more of a recoil than the 9mm due to its larger size and higher velocity, right? It's got a larger bullet, so it produces more of a recoil. The magazine capacity of a 9mm is typically higher than a 40 S&W, and that's because of like its smaller size. So the 9mm handgun can typically hold more rounds than a 40. Now, that's not all the time, because people customize the crap out of everything, and that's something I've found in this industry. Everyone likes to customize everything, which is pretty cool. So that last magazine capacity, I'm going to say in most cases, not all the time. The energy of a 40 S&W generally is much more than 9mm, again due to that larger size and the heavier bullet. And this is where it affects the stopping power. Now, I got a personal opinion on stopping power, but the stopping power and terminal ballistics are different there because of the energy. So stopping power, like a 9mm, if you have good, the best ammo is the one you shoot the best, whether it's any of these three. That's something I learned, and think that's awesome. Whatever you shoot the best is the best ammo to get. Now, if you've got a good shot, a 9mm is going to have like enough stopping power to put down a threat. You know, if you hit the right place, it's gonna disable the threat. So I think with all of these three, I don't think stopping power should be considered too much, because they all have enough stopping power. They'll get the job done. And you listen to some like old guys that have been in the game for ages and they've shot all of them, and they've been around a long time in this industry amongst bullets and tried all of them. They'll say the same. They all have. Well, most of them will say the same. Everyone I've heard anyway. They acknowledge the differences, but they all have enough stopping power. Now, if you're going to own a gun, it's my opinion that it is your responsibility to learn how to use it, and at least use it rather well. Like, it's a gun. So even if you're just using it for home defense and it's just sat in your safe most of the time, you should go out like at least on a monthly basis to practice. Just so like you have the familiarity of a gun in your hands and pulling a trigger. So with that alone, you should have a good enough shot to where a 9mm is going to be fine. So like people that love the 40 S&W, they're like almost an eclectic group. Like they want to they probably love customizing stuff as well. Like it's got just enough stopping power. It's just the right amount of stopping power. It's got just the right amount of recoil, and it's just a little bigger and a little more powerful. Like that's kind of that crowd. So yeah, that's my opinion anyway. Because especially in the current economic climate, the 9mm, less expensive, it's more widely available, so that, like I would favor that and load up on that ammo, which is what I've been doing. So that's my take on the 40 S&W and the 9mm. Like I almost feel like I listened to a guy actually the other day, and he said the 40 S&W is basically obsolete. Now they still make it in mass quantities, but he was saying that you just don't hear as many people purchasing it. You just got more people doing 9mm because they understand it does the same thing. All right, so move on to the 45 ACP. What time are we on? 9. All right, 9 minutes. We can briefly go over 45 ACP. So the 45 ACP is a handgun cartridge designed by a guy called John Browning. So that was interesting to learn, back in 1905. And it was originally created for the Colt Model 1911 pistol and has since then become like still probably one of the most popular handgun cartridges in the world. So this handgun cartridge, this is, so the 45 ACP has a bullet diameter of 0.452 inches and a case length of 0.898 inches. I guess you don't really need to remember that, anybody, but basically highlights that it's bigger. So it typically fires a 230 grain bullet at muzzle, like 230 grains, that's a lot. Bullet at a muzzle velocity of around 830 feet per second. But like that's typically, there's different ones out there. That's just, there's lots of different like loadings available, and like there's different ones because of customization and different parts that people can buy to change it all up. The 45 ACP is known for its heavier bullet, like I just mentioned, and it's relatively low velocity, which results in really good stopping power. And you know my take on stopping power. It's pretty popular for self-defense, and I remember buying my first gun, and the guy did mention a few different guns, and he talked to, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he did mention the 45 ACP as an ammunition choice for something he showed me, because it is popular for self-defense, law enforcement, military operations, and yeah, it's a big one, so it can do more damage. But stopping power, again, like a 9mm has great stopping power if you got a good shot. So I that's my take. So in addition to the Colt 1911, the 45 ACP is also used in a ton of other handguns. Like you can find it in Glock, Smith & Wessons, SIG, all sorts. It's popular. It's popular amongst not only civilians but military and like police officers and service members too. So the real what time went 12 minutes, right? We'll end it here. Well, I'll go into another podcast and like I'll identify like specification wise, because that was an interesting one. I learned a lot from actually doing that research, so I'll share that. It's good to know. Might help you decide on what ammunition you're going to go for. I'm in the field of the 9mm, and I think I'd have something that can shoot a 45 ACP just because it'll be fun, because it's more powerful. So that would be my take. But I'd still more be in the 9mm category when in terms of like stacking up ammo, being prepared, being ready. I would go 9mm. 45 ACP would just be like, let's go and have a good time and have some fun. All right, folks, that's all from me on this podcast. We'll talk more about specifics on these three types of ammunition because it's a huge subject and there's tons of debate out there. I'm not here to debate. I'm just here to share what I learn. I'm no expert, so everything that I just said you can find in way more depth on the internet somewhere. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I will see you again next time. Have a great day.